Fisher says that the Yellowstone system is similar to the Valles Caldera here in New Mexico. Although Valles Caldera is smaller, it's a supervolcano that's produced large eruptions roughly 1 million years ago.
Beneath the stunning magnificence of Yellowstone National Park lurks one of Earth's most deadly natural threats, a gigantic supervolcano that has been mainly silent for over 500,000 years. Tourists come for the geysers, animals, and tranquility. Few people understand they are standing on top of a geological time bomb, and for the first time in years, that bomb is ticking louder than before. In recent weeks, Yellowstone has gone from peaceful to horrific. Unusual earthquake swarms, weird animal migrations, boiling geysers behaving out of sync, and most alarmingly, a rare red alert have all been issued by the United States Geological Survey. This is no ordinary warning. A red alert indicates an imminent or ongoing volcanic eruption. Scientists monitoring the park have observed an increase in seismic activity, with tremors moving upward into the crust, indicating that magma may be on the move. Gas concentrations have doubled. Satellite photos reveal growing heat signatures. The ground itself is inflating like a balloon about to burst. This is not scaremongering. This is science raising a red flag. Even a minor eruption at Yellowstone may have far-reaching consequences, affecting everything from air transport to agriculture. If it explodes on a large scale, it might alter the path of human history. So what is occurring underneath Yellowstone? Is the sleeping behemoth finally awakening? And if so, are we prepared? Let's have a look at everything before the countdown ends. It began softly, with a few low-magnitude earthquakes rumbling under the surface of Yellowstone National Park. Geologists first disregarded them as normal geothermal activity in the park. After all, Yellowstone is located on top of a massive pool of molten rock, and mild tremors are not uncommon in such a volatile environment. But what happened over the next few days sent shockwaves across the scientific world. Literally. Within weeks, the little tremors had swelled into thousands. Swarms of earthquakes, some with magnitudes above 4.0, began to congregate around the Norris Geyser Basin and Yellowstone Lake. These were not random jolts. They followed a disconcerting pattern of vertical movement, indicating magma moving upward through the crust. Historically, this type of seismic activity has typically preceded volcanic eruptions, and in Yellowstone, the risks are tremendously larger. The park's subsurface terrain began to alter. Sensitive GPS sensors detected fast ground deformation, with some regions rising several inches within days. That isn't simply dirt moving, it's pressure molten rock expanding and pushing its way to the surface. This type of uplift is similar to seeing a pressure cooker swell just before it whistles. Only in this case, the cooker is the size of a small state. The increase of harmonic tremors, which are low-frequency vibrations caused by magma flowing through subterranean tubes, heightened the urgency. Consider the earth humming from inside, its voice becoming deeper as the magma becomes restless. Scientists had seen it before, but not at this pace or in such large numbers. What started out as geological noise is now a clear, coordinated signal. Something is moving deep under Yellowstone. The countdown accelerates with each fresh tremor and inch of rise. The crust is crumbling, and the beast underneath is moving. Seismic activity was not the only warning indicator. As the earthquakes worsened, scientists noticed another concerning trend: a significant increase in volcanic gas emissions. Sensors dispersed around Yellowstone began detecting unusually high amounts of sulfur dioxide and carbon dioxide, which are the chemical fingerprints of magma on the rise. Sulfur dioxide is the canary in the volcanic coal mine. When magma approaches the surface, it emits this gas in large spurts, escaping through fractures in the ground as pressure rises beneath. In just a few weeks, sulfur dioxide measurements increased, well above usual baselines. For volcanologists, this quick increase was like hearing a tea kettle hiss just before it screams. At the same time, satellite thermal imaging revealed something even more disturbing. Geysers and hot springs began to behave irregularly. Some eruptions occurred outside of the expected time frame. Others became silent. Thermal signatures increased, indicating that the park's underlying hydrothermal systems were being disrupted, most likely by magma altering groundwater channels. Temperatures at some geothermal sites climbed dramatically. A handful of the park's roadways buckled when the asphalt bent due to subterranean heat. Tourists reported hearing odd thundering roars from the geysers, louder and deeper than anything they'd heard previously. Then came the official notice: The USGS issued a red alert, indicating the greatest level of volcanic concern. It is seldom proclaimed. When this occurs, it indicates that an eruption is on its way or has already begun. Severe conditions for red alert include continuous seismic disturbance, fast Earth uplift, unexpected gas emissions, and hydrothermal abnormalities. Yellowstone checked all of the boxes. It is more than just a scientific update. It is a call to action. Yellowstone is no longer stable, with the magma chamber changing, the crust deforming, and the sky above warming as geothermal heat rises. Nature is urging us to prepare now, or it will be too late. If Yellowstone genuinely explodes, the ramifications will extend beyond Wyoming, Montana, and the United States. This isn't simply about lava flows and ash floating across a neighboring roadway. This is about a supervolcano that can reshape the globe. Yellowstone erupted on a catastrophic scale around 640,000 years ago, releasing more than 1,000 cubic kilometers of volcanic debris into the atmosphere. The explosion blasted up a gigantic caldera that is visible from orbit. What about the ash? It covered much of North America. Entire areas were buried, ecosystems collapsed, global weather patterns have evolved for years. That is the scary potential that geologists are currently facing. If Yellowstone erupted again at that size, ash clouds would soar into the stratosphere, carried by high-altitude winds over continents. Within days, daylight would wane as particles obstructed it, resulting in what scientists refer to as a volcanic winter. Temperatures might plunge by several degrees throughout the world, similar to what happened when Mount Pinatubo erupted in 1991, but on a far greater scale. Crops would fail, global food supply would decrease. Famine may spread in susceptible countries within months. Meanwhile, volcanic ash, which is highly abrasive and harmful to aircraft engines, would ground flights across the United States and abroad, thereby halting global air traffic permanently. Power grids would also be unable to escape. Ashfall may clog cooling systems in transformers, reduce solar panel effectiveness, and even clog the lungs of cattle and humans. The Midwest, regarded as America's agricultural heartland, would be decimated, with its precious soil rendered unusable by layers of glassy dust. And at ground zero, pyroclastic flows, which are searing avalanches of gas, ash, and rock that travel at speeds exceeding 300 miles per hour, would destroy everything in their path. Forests, cities, and highways vanished in seconds. In the face of such power, our society is not just vulnerable, but also frail. If Yellowstone erupts, it will not simply create headlines. It will remake history. Long before scientists issued a red signal, Yellowstone's wildlife were already reacting. Bison, who are generally peaceful and territorial, began moving in large numbers, traveling well beyond their customary areas. Elk went to higher ground. Birds, particularly those that nest near hot springs, flew weeks ahead of their normal cycles. To the untrained eye, it may appear coincidental. However, volcanologists believe that these behavioral variations are not random. Animals can perceive things that people cannot, such as small vibrations, magnetic field alterations, and the taste of gases in the air. In several reported volcanic eruptions, unusual animal behavior preceded important geological occurrences. And this time, the indicators are not isolated. The park's surrounding communities in Wyoming, Montana, and Idaho have taken note. What began as curiosity has transformed into silent fear. Bottled water, canned food, and medical supplies are in short supply in supermarkets. People are loading gas cans, boarding up homes, and facing an agonizing decision: stay and risk everything, or flee and lose everything. Some people are converting basements into emergency shelters. Others have already left, escaping to family hundreds of miles away. The uncertainty has strained nerves and overloaded phone lines. Even now, with no eruption, the psychological toll is increasing. What's the problem? Supervolcanoes do not follow set timetables. Despite the facts, earthquakes, gas surges, and geyser disturbances, no one can predict when or if Yellowstone will explode. So folks have to wait, not in peace, but in terror, surrounded by magnificent surroundings that are now laced with an unseen menace. As the bison herds vanish toward the horizon, it's becoming clear that nature takes action when warnings are no longer effective. As the situation in Yellowstone worsened, the reaction shifted from local concern to global cooperation. Within days following the red warning, emergency processes were activated at the highest levels. FEMA, NASA, and the Department of Defense began preparing resources, not for a simulation, but for a possible real-time calamity. Military transport planes were kept on standby in case mass evacuations became necessary. Mobile field hospitals, emergency food, and protective breathing gear began to arrive in surrounding communities, including Bozeman, Billings, and Casper. State officials have designated fairgrounds, school gyms, and sports arenas as improvised refugee shelters. Perhaps the most amazing answer came from the heavens. NASA and European Space Agency satellites were promptly retasked with monitoring the Yellowstone caldera. These circling eyes checked for changes in ground elevation, thermal emissions, and gas composition, providing scientists with an aerial edge in determining the supervolcano's next move. At the same time, geologists put Yellowstone's real-time data into advanced machine learning algorithms. These models ran millions of eruption scenarios every day, depicting anything from small lava vents to full-scale caldera collapses. What's the goal? To forecast not just if Yellowstone will erupt, but how, where, and how violently. Meanwhile, worldwide volcanologists from Japan, Iceland, and Indonesia, all of which have had catastrophic eruptions, began exchanging their knowledge and data. For the first time in history, the globe witnessed a supervolcano before it erupted. Every model run, satellite scan, and footstep in the ash-covered soil now has the same weight. Find answers before time runs out. Because if Yellowstone is genuinely awakening, there may be no more chances. Yellowstone is no longer simply a gorgeous national park. It is now the hub of a developing global emergency, a location where beauty and terror coexist, and the Earth itself may be about to create history once more. Every earthquake, gas rise, and restless geyser is a danger signal from deep under the surface. But no one knows what happens next. This is what makes Yellowstone so scary. Not only is it powerful, but also unpredictable. Despite satellites, models, and decades of monitoring, we still don't know when, or even if, the next eruption will occur. All we have are indications. Currently, the indicators are blinking red. Communities are preparing for the worst. Scientists operate around the clock. Emergency supplies are being stockpiled. Yellowstone is still silent, but not entirely. The Earth is changing, rising, and vibrating beneath the feet of every camper, ranger, and tourist that braves its paths. This is not science fiction. It's a serious and growing problem that might affect every part of the world. A supervolcano eruption would cause widespread devastation. It would be a global crisis. So the question remains, is this the quiet before the storm? Or are we experiencing a unique geological tantrum that will end without a bang? Nobody knows for sure. But one thing is certain. The sleeping behemoth is awakening. The world is holding its breath. If you found this video informative, please like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. Is Yellowstone poised to erupt? Is nature merely telling us who is in charge?